It felt like there was something more beneath the surface. Gloria found herself questioning her aunt's intentions. One afternoon, Gloria sat in her office, reviewing some final paperwork for a new investment partnership. She had worked tirelessly on the deal for weeks, and it was finally coming together. The investors were eager to sign the contract, and everything was set for the official announcement. It was a major step forward for the company. This was her moment. But as she was about to call her assistant to finalize the meeting details, her phone buzzed. It was a message from an unknown number. I know you're busy with your deal, but it's time to hear the truth. Check your email. You'll understand everything. Gloria frowned, the message sending a cold shiver down her spine. Who could this be? She didn't recognize the number, but the tone was unsettling. Almost as if someone knew something about her life, something she wasn't supposed to know. Against her instincts, she opened her email. What she saw made her heart stop. Attached was a series of emails between Mrs. Nina and a man Gloria had never heard of before, Dr. User, a former colleague of hers who had once worked in the business world. The emails revealed something shocking. Mrs. Nina had been secretly meeting with Dr. User for months, discussing Gloria's business, how it was growing, its potential, and more. What was most surprising was the tone of the emails. Mrs. Nina had been giving away sensitive information about Gloria's company, sharing her strategies, and even offering personal details about Gloria's private life. But that wasn't all. The most damning email contained a message where Mrs. Nina had agreed to provide Dr. User with confidential data about Gloria's business, in exchange for an undisclosed sum of money. The exchange wasn't just about money, it seemed to involve something even more personal. Gloria felt the walls close in. Her mind was racing, trying to process what she had just uncovered. How could her aunt betray her like this? She had trusted her. She had believed in her. And now, here she was, secretly selling information about the very business that had given both of them a chance at redemption. Her hands were trembling as she scrolled through the email thread. Each message made her feel smaller, more betrayed. This wasn't just about business, it was about family, about the person who had once abandoned her and who she had taken back into her life. For a moment, Gloria just sat there in silence. The betrayal was so complete, so unexpected, that she couldn't even find the words to express the weight of it. Her aunt, who had cried in her arms, begging for forgiveness, had been using that very forgiveness to destroy everything Gloria had built. And just as she was about to call her assistant to cancel the upcoming meeting, her phone buzzed again. It was a call from Mrs. Nina. Her heart pounded as she hesitated, staring at the screen. Was this the call she had been dreading? With a deep breath, Gloria picked up the phone. "Aunt," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've been thinking, Gloria." Mrs. Nina's voice was soft, almost too calm. "Maybe it's time we talked about the future. I know you've been busy, but there's something you should know." Gloria clenched her jaw, trying to steady her breathing. She had to confront her aunt, but the words felt like they were stuck in her throat. "Why, Aunt? Why didn't you tell me?" Gloria asked, her voice shaking now. "Why were you giving away information about my company? Why have you been meeting with Dr. User behind my back?" There was a long silence on the other end of the line. Gloria could almost hear her aunt's breath catching, and then, she heard the faintest tremble in her voice as Mrs. Nina replied. "I thought I was doing what was best for you, Gloria," she said, her words laden with a strange kind of remorse. "I thought if I could help, if I could fix things, if I could help you grow even faster, more powerfully, maybe you would forgive me completely." Gloria's chest tightened. She felt a surge of anger rise up inside her. "You're lying," she said, her voice hardening. "This wasn't about helping me. You've been helping yourself. You've been using me. For money, for connections. For what, Aunt? What were you really after?" Her aunt's silence told her everything she needed to know. The truth was out, and it was far uglier than she could have imagined. "I never wanted to hurt you," Mrs. Nina whispered, but her words felt hollow now. "I just wanted to be important again, to matter in your life. Gloria let out a shaky breath. The betrayal wasn't just about money, it was about her aunt's desperate need for relevance in Gloria's success. She had believed that by manipulating the information, she could somehow gain anything, to make up for the years she had abandoned Gloria. "I trusted you," Gloria said, her voice now cold. "And you've just proven that you will always be the same. I won't let you destroy everything I've worked for." With those words, she ended the call. Gloria stared at the phone for a long moment, feeling as though the ground beneath her was slowly slipping away. Her aunt's betrayal had just shattered the fragile trust they had been rebuilding. And now, Gloria had to make the hardest decision yet: how to salvage her business, protect everything she had worked for, and cut ties with the only family she had left. She wasn't sure how, but she knew one thing for certain: this would not be the end of her journey. The weight of betrayal hung heavy in the air. Gloria sat in her office, the phone still in her hand, her mind reeling from her aunt's revelation. The betrayal wasn't just a stab in the back, it was a calculated move that threatened everything she had built. The one person she had trusted, the one person she had given a second chance, had proven herself to be just as selfish as before. Her heart pounded in her chest, the sting of hurt mixing with an overwhelming sense of anger. She had trusted Mrs. Nina, let her back into her life after everything that had happened. And now, it felt like that trust had been shattered into a million pieces. But there was no time to wallow in her emotions. Gloria had worked too hard to let someone's greed tear it all down. Without a second thought, she stood up and grabbed her bag. There was no point in waiting anymore. She needed to take control of the situation. The first thing she had to do was secure her business. If Dr. User had gotten his hands on any sensitive information, there was no telling how far this would go. Gloria had to act fast. She drove to the office, her thoughts racing the entire way. She had always been prepared for a challenge. This, however, was something else entirely. The betrayal was personal, and it cut deeper than anything she had ever experienced. But it also lit a fire in her. She wasn't going to let this destroy her. When she arrived at the office, she immediately called an emergency meeting with her senior managers and the legal team. They needed to discuss the extent of the damage and plan their next steps. The last thing Gloria wanted was for her aunt's dealings with Dr. User to spiral into a public scandal. If this got out, it would ruin everything she had worked for. As the team gathered in the conference room, Gloria wasted no time. She briefed them on what had happened, about the emails, about Mrs. Nina's betrayal, and the room fell silent. Everyone knew that if someone had breached the confidentiality of the company, it could be catastrophic. "I've called in a cybersecurity team to investigate if there was any leak of sensitive information," Gloria said, her voice steady despite the turmoil inside her. "We're going to handle this quietly, but we need to move quickly. This can't go public." "Not yet. We have to control the narrative." Her head of legal, Ngozi, nodded. "We'll go through every detail. We'll secure all the data and make sure no information has been compromised." Gloria turned to her financial officer, Hugo, and the look in her eyes left no room for doubt. "Hugo, I need a full audit of every transaction and contract. Every deal we've done in the last year. We need to make sure we're not being exploited from the inside." Hugo's face tightened. "Understood. We'll start immediately." Gloria felt the gravity of the situation. She was standing at the crossroads of her career, and she knew this moment would define everything. But she couldn't let fear control her. She had worked too hard to get here, and she would not let anyone take it all away. The next few days were a blur of meetings, phone calls, and frantic efforts to trace every detail of her aunt's involvement. Gloria's legal team worked tirelessly, reviewing contracts and records to ensure that no one had stolen or manipulated any assets. But what they found was more disturbing than she had anticipated. There were whispers of Dr. User being involved with another major investor, someone with deep pockets and connections in the global market. The more they dug, the more it became clear that Gloria wasn't just dealing with a simple betrayal. It was much bigger. The more her aunt had tried to make amends, the more she had been dragged into a web of deceit that Gloria had no part in. Her blood ran cold when she learned that Dr. User wasn't just after money, he had been working on a plan to take over parts of her business, using her aunt as a pawn. He had been quietly offering smaller investments to certain departments in exchange for control over company decisions. It was all part of a much bigger scheme to dismantle Gloria's success from within. The man had been playing her aunt, and now he was using that leverage to break apart the very thing Gloria had worked so hard to create. It was a nightmare that seemed impossible to wake up from, but Gloria refused to back down. She had no intention of letting anyone steal her empire. Late one night, after a long day of legal work, Gloria sat at her desk, looking over the results of the investigation. Her phone rang. It was a message from Chica. *, we need to talk. I think I know who's behind it. *. Gloria's heart skipped a beat. Could Chica have figured something out? She hadn't mentioned anything earlier, but Chica had a sharp mind, her instincts were often right. Gloria quickly replied and arranged to meet her the next morning. She needed all the help she could get. Whatever was going on, Gloria knew one thing for sure: she wasn't going to let anyone take what was hers. Not her business, not her success, and certainly not her future. The next day, Gloria met Chica at a small cafe outside the city. As they sat down, Chica wasted no time. "I've been digging, Gloria," Chica began, her eyes scanning the room before she leaned in closer. "I know you trust your aunt, but I think she was just a tool in all this. Someone much more dangerous is behind the scenes." Gloria leaned forward, her interest piqued. "Who? Who's behind this?" Chica pulled out a piece of paper from her bag and slid it across the table. "The name is Ugaku Obiora. I've seen his name before, he's connected to some of the biggest corporate takeovers in the country. And he's got a lot of influence." Gloria's blood ran cold. Ugaku Obiora, she had heard of him. He was known for getting what he wanted, no matter the cost. "This is bigger than we thought," Gloria whispered. "We're going to take him down." Chica nodded, a fierce determination in her eyes. "We will. Together." The fight was far from over. Gloria wasn't just going to reclaim her company. She was going to ensure that no one ever underestimated her again. She had risen from the streets. She had built an empire. And she wasn't about to let anyone destroy it. Gloria stood by the window of her office, arms folded tightly against her chest, staring out but not really seeing anything. The city outside moved on as usual, unaware of the war quietly unfolding inside her company. The betrayal had pierced something deep in her, deeper than pride, deeper than ego. She had invited Mrs. Nina into her world out of compassion, out of a belief that people could change. Now, that belief was bleeding. Chica walked in, holding a file close to her chest. "It's bad," she said softly, closing the door behind her. Gloria didn't turn. "How bad?" "They're offering bribes to some of our vendors to back out of supply contracts. If that chain breaks, we'll miss deadlines. Then the clients panic, and the rumors start." She stepped closer. "It's sabotage. Silent, calculated sabotage." Gloria slowly turned from the window, her face unreadable. "And it all connects back to Obiora?" Chica nodded. "Every dotted line. He's using his influence to shake the foundation before the final push. If we lose even one major client, it could trigger a domino effect." Gloria moved to her desk, picked up her phone, and began dialing. "Call Ngozi. Get her here. Now." Within an hour, the legal team assembled in the conference room. Gloria stood at the head of the table. No anger showed in her voice, only cold precision. "We've identified a coordinated move by Obiora and User to sabotage our operations. They're working with external parties to fracture our partnerships and push investors into doubt. This ends now." Ngozi leaned forward. "We can send cease and desist letters. We also need to update our partners and reassure them directly. Let them hear from you." "Do it," Gloria said. And I want a direct communication drafted for every key partner. Schedule video calls. I'll speak to each of them myself. Hugo, who had been quietly reviewing documents at the far end of the table, spoke next. There's one more thing. Obiora has been trying to buy out small shares through intermediaries, people we wouldn't normally flag. I've traced the funding sources. It's all leading back to one of his offshore firms. Gloria's jaw tightened. So he's not just trying to sabotage me. He's trying to own me. She turned to Chica. Prepare the press team. This story needs to be told, but on our terms. If it leaks, we lose control. But if we own it, we shift the focus. The meeting ended with everyone moving fast, fueled by the urgency of war. Gloria remained behind. She sat down for a moment, staring at her phone. Her thumb hovered over a contact, Mrs. Nina. She hadn't spoken to her since the truth came out. Before she could press call, her office door opened again. It was the farmer. Mama Gloria, he said gently, his voice as steady as it had been years ago when he first pulled her from the streets. Gloria's eyes widened. Papa, what are you doing here? I heard. Your friend Chica called me. She thought maybe you'd need someone to remind you who you are. Gloria stood and walked around her desk to embrace him. The smell of red earth and sweat still clung to him. It was a smell she had grown up with, one that had once meant safety. You haven't changed, she said, her voice cracking. You have. For the better. But you're still that same girl with fire in her chest. Don't let these people dim it. She pulled away and looked him in the eyes. I'm going to fight them. All of them. He smiled. That's my girl. And remember, even the tallest tree once started as a stubborn little seed in a rough patch of soil. Gloria nodded, strength slowly returning to her. With him in the room, the weight on her chest felt lighter. Later that evening, as the city lights began to blink on one by one, Gloria stood in front of a camera in her media room. She wore no jewelry, no makeup, just her voice and her truth. To our partners, our clients, and those who believe in what we do, she began, this is not just a company. It's a story. My story. I built it with hands once used to beg for food. I built it from kindness, from faith, from sweat. And today, I choose to protect it. Her voice held no tremble. We are under attack not just by business rivals, but by those who underestimated the will of a girl from nowhere. Let me make this clear, I will not fold. I will not be silent. And I will not let anyone take what I have built. She looked straight into the lens. If you're standing with me, thank you. If you're standing against me, I hope you brought a seat. You'll be watching for a long time. The video went viral within hours. Gloria didn't stop there. She worked overnight, side by side with her team, rebuilding every broken bridge. She held meeting after meeting, gathering her people, reminding them why they started this in the first place. And in a quiet office at the edge of the city, Ugaku Obiora watched the video. He didn't say a word. But the scowl that crossed his face said enough. He thought she would crumble. She hadn't even started. The morning after the video dropped, Gloria's office felt different. The quiet wasn't heavy anymore. It was focused. Intentional. Her staff walked with purpose, heads up, no whispering in corners or side glances. For the first time in weeks, there was energy, controlled but sharp. Chica was already seated at her desk when Gloria stepped in, holding her second cup of coffee. 3 clients just reaffirmed their contracts, Chica said without looking up. And 2 of them extended their deals. They said your video reminded them why they believed in this place. Gloria placed her bag gently on the couch. Good. It's working. Not just working, Chica said, now looking up. You turned the tide. Hugo entered with a grin barely hidden on his face. I told you, they underestimated you. They thought you'd fold. Gloria gave a small smile, but her eyes were still sharp. Obiora isn't finished. He doesn't stop when things don't go his way. He just changes the game. Ngozi joined them a few minutes later, files in hand. "I've filed notices against all shell companies tied to the attempted hostile business. Legally, they're frozen until the court hears our case. He can't move anything without us knowing." Gloria took the file and scanned through the names. "What about user?" Ngozi's expression darkened. "He's vanished. Went underground. Probably abroad." "Coward," Chica muttered. "Let him run," Gloria said. "He'll show up again. They always do." Later that afternoon, Gloria received a message, **** Nina is here. She says she won't leave until she sees you. ***. Gloria stared at the message on her screen for a long moment. Then she typed back, ***, let her in. ***. When Mrs. Nina entered the office, she looked different. Not weaker, but older. The makeup couldn't hide the exhaustion in her eyes. Her voice was soft, cautious. "I didn't come to beg this time," she said. "I came to explain." Gloria leaned back. "Explain what, exactly? That you used my kindness? That you worked with a stranger to tear down what I built? Or that you thought I'd be too blind to notice?" Mrs. Nina looked down. "I didn't know what he planned at first. User told me you needed guidance. That your business was struggling and you were too proud to ask for help. I thought I was doing what was best for you." Gloria laughed bitterly. "So you forged meetings, scheduled backdoor dealings, tried to convince my team I was losing grip, all to help me? I didn't know it would go that far," she whispered. "You knew when you sat in meetings I wasn't invited to. When you signed fake memos. When you got paid for my silence. I didn't take any money. You took my trust," Gloria snapped. Silence. Then, Mrs. Nina's eyes filled with tears. "You're right. I was wrong. I let greed speak louder than guilt. I've done horrible things. But I loved your mother. I failed her." "You didn't just fail her," Gloria said, standing slowly. "You failed me when I was 7 and you left me on the street. You failed me again when you came back pretending to care. I gave you space in my life, and you tried to bury me in it." Mrs. Nina wiped her face, shaking. "I just want a chance to make it right." Gloria walked around her desk and opened the door. "I hope someday you mean that. But it won't be today." Mrs. Nina stood for a long moment, then nodded. She walked out quietly. This time, Gloria didn't watch her leave. By evening, Obiora made his next move. A sudden press release accused Gloria's company of tax evasion, sourcing from an anonymous whistleblower. Ngozi was already on it. "He's trying to choke us with distraction. If we start fighting multiple battles at once, we lose focus. He's desperate," Chica said. "You embarrassed him, and now he wants to stain your name." Gloria paced for a moment, then turned. "We won't respond to the press directly. Let the tax board do their job. Meanwhile, we double down on delivery. No delays. No missteps. We stay sharp. We stay visible." "Full steam?" Hugo asked. "Full storm," Gloria said. "He came at me in the dark. I'll drag him into the light." That night, as her office lights stayed on long after others shut down, Gloria stood alone, her reflection staring back at her through the window. She thought of the little girl in torn slippers, the one who begged for rice on the roadside. She was still here. But now, she wasn't begging. She was building. And this time, no one was going to tear it down. The following morning, a soft knock came on Gloria's door just as the sun was rising. She was already at her desk, her eyes heavy from reading all night. It was Hugo, holding a flash drive between his fingers like it was gold. "I think we got him," he said. Gloria's eyes lifted. "Obiora?" Hugo nodded. "His company is clean on the surface, but the drive contains an internal audit that was never meant to see daylight. Someone from his own firm sent it anonymously to me. There's evidence, fake consultants, shell firms billing the same projects twice, undeclared international transfers. Enough to bury him. Gloria took the flash and stared at it. Why would someone inside betray him? Maybe they've seen what he did to others. Maybe they were next, Hugo said. Power has a way of turning on itself. She slid the flash into her drawer and locked it. Not yet, she said. Let him keep thinking he's winning. We'll make this public when it matters most. Later that day, Chica was already in the boardroom with 2 new investors from Johannesburg. The meeting had barely started when she glanced down at her phone and froze. They pulled out, she said under her breath. Minutes ago. No explanation. Gloria's face didn't move. Obiora again? Hugo nodded. He's using quiet rumors, whispers in back channels, subtle threats. People are scared to be associated with you. Ngozi stormed in with papers. They've filed an injunction to freeze one of our accounts. On the surface, it looks like a routine check, but it's coordinated. It's coming from Obiora's lawyer, disguised as a third-party petition. Gloria exhaled slowly. He wants to corner me. Chica asked, do we go public now? Not yet, Gloria said. Let him tighten the rope. Then we'll cut it where it hurts. While her team worked, Gloria made a quiet call to someone she hadn't spoken to in years. Ozo Amina, she said when the line picked up. A pause. I was wondering when you'd call. I need eyes inside Obiora's export unit. Dangerous waters, Gloria. I'm not asking you to swim. Just send a ripple. You're still bold, Ozo Amina said with a laugh. I'll see what I can do. That night, the city's business elite gathered for an exclusive fundraising gala. Gloria arrived alone, dressed in a simple deep green gown that turned heads without effort. She wasn't there for show. She was there to watch. Across the hall, Obiora laughed too loudly, surrounded by fake smiles and men who shook hands like it meant nothing. Their eyes met once. He raised his glass in a mock toast. Gloria smiled. Just enough. As the event dragged on, Gloria slipped away from the crowd and met with one of the journalists she trusted. I need a favor, she said, handing him a sealed envelope. You'll know when to open it. He looked up. And when will that be? She gave a thin smile. When everyone else is clapping for him the loudest. By the following week, the storm had picked up. More partners were pulling back. Staff were nervous. Rumors were flying like knives. And then it happened. Obiora called a press conference, his first public appearance since the tension began. He smiled wide, confident, bold, surrounded by flashbulbs and cameras. This company, he said, was built on integrity. We believe in transparency. Unlike some, we do not hide. The room clapped. And that's when the story broke. Not on the news. On every phone in that room. Gloria's pre-recorded message dropped the second he finished speaking. It showed documents, invoices, transfer slips, names, dates, everything Hugo had found. And Gloria's voice, calm and clear, to those who think shadows protect them, remember, light doesn't ask for permission. Obiora's smile collapsed. And just like that, the room that was clapping for him, turned on him. He walked off stage. No words. No defense. As the video trended across the country, Gloria watched from her office. She didn't smile. She didn't cheer. She just whispered to herself, Phase 1, done. But inside, she knew this was far from over. She had enemies in the open now. But worse still, there were others in the dark. And not all of them were strangers. The aftermath of the press conference left the air thick with tension. Obiora's empire was crumbling, but Gloria knew better than to celebrate too early. She had exposed his lies, but that wasn't the end of the fight, it was only the beginning. As the week wore on, the media buzzed, but Gloria's phone stayed eerily quiet. She knew Obiora wouldn't go down without one last strike. Chica sat across from Gloria in the conference room, scrolling through the reports of Obiora's diminishing influence. His shares are plummeting, Chica said. But you can tell he's not finished. He's planning something bigger. Gloria nodded. He's always had a knack for making his last play seem like the beginning of something new. She leaned back in her chair, fingers tapping the surface of the table. And there's something I'm missing. It's not just about the shares. It's about control. Ngozi entered, carrying a stack of legal documents. We've had more clients delay contracts. It seems like they're waiting for confirmation of something. They're afraid Obiora might still have some leverage. Gloria stood, her mind racing. We're going to give them that confirmation, but it's not going to come from him. It's going to come from us. Set up meetings with all our remaining investors. I want to look them in the eye and remind them who built this company from nothing. Ngozi nodded, already pulling out her phone to make calls. As the days went by, Obiora's desperation became more apparent. Rumors swirled about his finances, undisclosed debts, an increasingly tarnished reputation. But Gloria wasn't focused on those rumors. She was focused on finding the last key piece of the puzzle. It came to her one evening when she was going through a series of emails she hadn't opened in weeks. There, buried under old messages, was an email from a name she hadn't seen in years. User. It was brief and contained only a few words. ***, meet me. I have what you need to end this. Tomorrow, midnight. The old warehouse on Ikoyi Road. Alone. ***. Gloria stared at the screen for a long moment. She knew better than to trust him, but her instincts told her this was a game changer. If User had anything that could give her the final edge, she had to go. She made her decision quickly. That night, the air was cool and heavy with the weight of the city. Gloria drove to the warehouse alone, her mind swirling with questions. As she approached, the streetlights flickered, casting shadows over the empty roads. The warehouse loomed before her, dark, silent, as if waiting for something to happen. She stepped out of her car, her heels clicking against the pavement. There was no sign of User, no sign of anyone. Gloria's senses were on high alert as she walked toward the large steel doors. She paused at the entrance, then pushed them open. Inside, the warehouse was deserted. But the silence felt off. Too quiet. She moved deeper into the shadows, eyes scanning every corner. A sudden voice broke the stillness. You came. Gloria turned, her hand instinctively reaching for the taser in her bag. But it wasn't User standing before her. It was someone else, someone she hadn't expected. It was Mrs. Nina. What are you doing here? Gloria's voice was sharp, her heart racing. Mrs. Nina stepped forward, her face twisted with something between regret and defiance. I know what you're thinking. You think I'm still with Obiora. You think I'm still betraying you. Why would you be here if you weren't? Gloria snapped. Where's User? He's gone. He never wanted to meet you, Mrs. Nina said, her voice shaking. But I did. Gloria's brow furrowed. Why? Why would you help me now? I never wanted to hurt you, Mrs. Nina said, looking down. I was trying to protect you in the only way I knew how, but I was wrong. Gloria didn't respond, her mind working quickly to piece everything together. She could feel the sting of betrayal but also a strange, reluctant curiosity. What was Mrs. Nina offering? I have information, she said quietly. Information that will end Obiora's reign for good. But it's not just about him. It's about the people behind him, the ones who've been manipulating the strings all along. The ones you need to fight. Gloria took a step closer. What do you mean? Obiora is just a pawn, Mrs. Nina continued. There are bigger players, people you don't know. They've been hiding in the shadows, pulling the strings for years. It wasn't just business with him. It was personal. And I was part of it. Gloria's blood ran cold. Who? Mrs. Nina hesitated. The name you'll need to look for is Okoro. The name was unfamiliar, but it meant something, Gloria could tell. There was something dangerous behind it. Mrs. Nina continued. He's the real reason everything is falling apart. Obiora's just a puppet. And you've been caught in a much bigger trap than you realize. Gloria's mind raced. Where do I find him? Mrs. Nina sighed, her eyes pleading. It's not that easy. Okoro's well hidden. But he's out there. And he's coming for you next. The words hung in the air, thick with the promise of danger. Gloria knew one thing: the war she'd been fighting was about to escalate. The enemy was no longer just Obiora. It was a shadowy figure in the background, pulling the strings. And this time, Gloria was going to hunt them down before they could strike again. As she turned to leave, she felt a chill run down her spine. Okoro. That name would be her next target, and she wasn't going to stop until she found him, no matter what it took. The air was colder the next day, as if the universe itself had taken notice of the storm brewing in Gloria's life. She had always fought to build her empire, piece by piece, but now she realized the battle wasn't just about the company anymore. It was about her survival. Okoro. The name haunted her thoughts, swirling like smoke. Who was he? Why was he behind everything? She couldn't ignore the feeling that the walls were closing in. There were whispers in the air now, not just about Obiora's fall, but of something darker, something more dangerous. And it wasn't just the business world that was in turmoil. People she trusted were being pulled into the storm, too. Chika and Ngozi were both in her office when she arrived, both looking unusually serious. The moment Gloria walked in, Ngozi handed her a folder. Gloria, there's something you need to see. Her voice was steady, but the weight of the moment hung between them. Gloria sat at her desk, flipping open the folder. Inside were detailed records, emails, communications, and handwritten notes. As she sifted through the contents, one name kept appearing: Okoro. This is what we've been able to gather, Ngozi continued. He's been linked to several shell companies around the country. But there's something odd: his footprint isn't clear. He doesn't operate under one identity. It's like he's hiding in plain sight. Gloria's mind raced. This is the man behind everything. He's pulling the strings. And if we don't get to him soon, he'll destroy everything we've worked for. Chika crossed her arms. We've tried to dig through every possible lead, but he's careful. If he's really pulling Obiora's strings, he's too far ahead of us. Gloria leaned back, her eyes narrowing. Then we need to go straight to the source. We have to find the people who know him, who work with him. There was silence in the room, heavy and thick. Gloria stood up and walked to the window, looking out over the city. The once vibrant skyline now felt like a battleground. Everyone was fighting for control, trying to stay afloat in a sea of uncertainty. And she was standing at the center of it all. I'm going to find Okoro. And I'm going to end this, Gloria said quietly, her voice steady but filled with an unspoken promise. The next few days were filled with back-to-back meetings, but Gloria's mind remained focused on one thing: Okoro. She knew it wasn't going to be easy to track him down. He was elusive, and his connections were too well hidden. But she had learned long ago that nothing was impossible. Chika had made arrangements to meet with a few of the company's former employees who had worked with Obiora. Gloria had a feeling that someone, somewhere, knew something about Okoro. It was late in the evening when Gloria's phone buzzed with a message. The number was unknown, but the text was clear. ***, I know where Okoro is. Meet me tonight. 10 p.m. The old train station. Don't bring anyone. ***. Her heart skipped a beat. This was it. The lead she'd been waiting for. Gloria didn't hesitate. She texted back a quick response. ***, I'll be there. ***. The train station was quiet, far removed from the usual hustle and bustle. The rusting tracks seemed to whisper secrets of the past, and the dim lights created an eerie atmosphere. Gloria arrived alone, her footsteps echoing in the silence. She waited. Minutes stretched into what felt like hours, but no one appeared. Just as she was about to turn back, a shadow moved in the corner of her eye. Gloria's breath caught as a figure stepped out of the darkness. It was a man she didn't recognize, but there was something familiar about the way he carried himself, his confidence, the sharpness in his eyes. "You came," he said, his voice low and cautious. Gloria didn't speak at first. She studied him, trying to read him, but his face was unreadable. "I know who you are," Gloria said, her voice cutting through the quiet. The man smiled faintly. "Do you? I'm not here to discuss who I am. I'm here to tell you what you don't know." "About Okoro," Gloria said, her eyes narrowing. "Tell me everything." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Okoro isn't who you think he is. He's more than just a businessman. He's been operating in the shadows for years. But he doesn't want to be known. He wants to control everything from behind the scenes, from the comfort of the darkness. His true identity, it's hidden for a reason." Gloria's mind raced. "And why are you telling me this?" The man didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled a small device from his jacket pocket and handed it to Gloria. "This is a recording," he said. "Okoro's plans for you are already in motion. He thinks you're too focused on Obiora to see what's coming. But I'm warning you now, he's got people everywhere, even inside your own company. He's already planted spies." Gloria held the device in her hand, her thoughts swirling. "Who are you working for?" The man hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "It doesn't matter. What matters is that you're running out of time. If you don't act fast, you'll lose everything. Not just your company, but your life. Okoro is not going to stop until you're gone." Gloria felt a chill run down her spine. "How do I stop him?" The man stepped back, disappearing into the shadows as quickly as he had arrived. "Find his weaknesses," he said, his voice fading. "Find his past. That's the only way." As Gloria stood there alone, the weight of the warning sank in. She was no longer just fighting for her company or her future, she was fighting for her life. And to defeat Okoro, she had to understand him. She had to uncover the secrets he had buried. And she wasn't about to back down. The game was changing again, and this time, Gloria wasn't just playing, she was hunting. Gloria sat alone in her office late into the night, staring at the device the mysterious man had given her. The weight of the situation was heavy on her chest, but there was something in her that refused to give in to fear. Okoro was a threat, no doubt. But she had survived worse. She had risen from nothing. And she wasn't going to let anyone, not even someone like Okoro, take everything from her. She plugged the device into her computer, her fingers steady as she opened the file. The screen blinked to life, revealing a series of conversations. The first voice she recognized immediately, Obiora. His tone was sharp, filled with the arrogance that had been his trademark all along. But it wasn't his words that sent a cold shiver down her spine. It was the name that followed. Okoro. The two men were discussing plans that made Gloria's stomach turn. They spoke of eliminating anyone who posed a threat to their control. They spoke of buying off officials, manipulating stock markets, and framing powerful people for crimes they didn't commit. It was clear now Obiora had always been a pawn. A means to an end. But what struck Gloria the most was the last part of the conversation. "She's too dangerous, Obiora." Okoro's voice rang out coldly. "I've given you the resources to crush her. If you fail me, I'll take care of it myself." Gloria's blood ran cold. Okoro wasn't just a businessman. He was a predator, willing to destroy anyone in his path. And now, he had made it personal. She sat back in her chair, the weight of the realization settling over her. Okoro wasn't just after her company. He wanted her out of the picture, permanently. And if she was going to survive this, she had to act fast. She couldn't wait for Obiora or anyone else to make the first move. It was time for Gloria to take control. The next morning, Gloria called for a meeting with her inner circle. Chika, Ngozi, Yugo, and even Ozo Amina, who had been on the ground trying to uncover any leads on Okoro, gathered around the conference table. The tension was palpable as they all waited for her to speak. Gloria wasted no time. "We've got a bigger problem than Obiora," It's Okoro. He's been behind everything. Chika raised an eyebrow. Okoro? Who is he? What does he want? He wants control, Gloria replied, her voice steady but urgent. He wants me gone, and is willing to destroy anyone who stands in his way. Ngozi leaned forward. So what do we do? How do we stop him? Gloria's eyes met each of theirs, and for a moment, she allowed herself to let the weight of the situation show. This wasn't just a business fight, it was a fight for survival. And they were in this together. We go after him, Gloria said, her voice filled with resolve. But we do it carefully. We need to hit him where it hurts, his reputation. We expose the truth. The one thing he can't control is the truth. Yugo nodded. We've already been gathering intel. But it's not enough. We need something bigger, something he can't deny. Then we go deeper, Gloria said. We find his past. The one thing he's hiding, the skeletons in his closet. Everyone has one. And once we find it, we use it. Chika stood up. I'll reach out to our contacts. We need to dig up everything we can, old business records, personal history, anything that can expose him. And I'll keep digging into his financials, Ngozi added. There has to be something there. Ozo Amina, who had been quiet until now, finally spoke. Okoro's not going to go down easily. He's well connected, and he's dangerous. He's been operating in the shadows for years. But if we catch him off guard, we can take him down. Gloria nodded. Exactly. We make him believe he's winning, then we strike. I want all of you to be careful. He's going to come after us. And we need to be ready. The next few days passed in a whirlwind of meetings, strategy sessions, and late nights. Every lead was followed, every connection checked. But nothing came easily. Okoro was a ghost, moving through the shadows with ease. He knew how to cover his tracks. But Gloria wasn't one to give up easily. She knew the key to defeating him wasn't just about information, it was about timing. She had a plan. It was a week later when Gloria received a call that made her blood run cold. The number was unfamiliar, but the voice on the other end was unmistakable. I see you've been busy, Okoro's voice came through the phone, smooth and mocking. But you're too late. I'm already one step ahead of you. Gloria's heart raced, but she refused to show fear. What do you want, Okoro? He laughed, the sound dark and menacing. I don't want anything from you. I just want you to know this, your time is running out. If you keep pushing, you'll lose everything. Your company, your reputation, your life. Gloria's grip tightened on the phone. You don't scare me. You think I'm just going to back down? No. I'm coming for you, Okoro. And I will bring you down. There was a long silence on the other end of the line before Okoro spoke again, this time with a hint of amusement in his voice. You're already in the game, Gloria. But you're not playing by the rules. And soon, you'll learn the cost of that. And then, the line went dead. Gloria stood there, holding the phone in her hand. The words he had spoken echoed in her mind. The cost of that. Her stomach churned as she realized what it meant. Okoro wasn't just trying to destroy her company. He was trying to destroy her. And this time, she wasn't going to let him. She had no choice now, she had to take the fight to him. She had to be the one who controlled the game. The next day, Gloria made a decision. She would meet Okoro, face to face. She wasn't going to wait for him to make the next move. It was time to take the fight to his doorstep. The clock was ticking, and Gloria knew it was only a matter of time before Okoro would make his move. But this time, she was ready. And when they finally met, it would be the beginning of the end for him. The sun had just begun to set as Gloria stood by the large windows of her office, gazing out at the city she had fought so hard to build. She wasn't a stranger to challenges, but this felt different. Okoro was no ordinary adversary. He was a shadow in the background, pulling strings that she couldn't always see, but always felt. The tension in her body was palpable as she read through the latest reports. There was something in the air, something that told her the game had just shifted. Okoro had been quiet for days now. Too quiet. That meant one thing: he was preparing his next move. She had planned her confrontation carefully. Her contacts were in place. The media would be ready to cover the story, the one that would expose Okoro for who he really was. It would be a bold move, one that could ruin him if she was successful, but it also had the potential to destroy her if things went wrong. But there was no turning back now. Later that evening, Gloria met with Chika, Ngozi, and Ozoemena in a small, secure room at the office. It was their final strategy session before the confrontation. "Tomorrow, we move forward," Gloria began, her voice low but confident. "I'll meet Okoro. I don't know how he'll react, but we can't wait any longer. We have to strike first, before he gets another chance to come after us." Ozoemena leaned forward. "Are you sure you want to meet him alone? We can bring in the security team, have extra eyes watching." "No," Gloria said firmly, shaking her head. "If I bring security, it'll look like I'm afraid. I need him to think I'm confident, that I have nothing to hide. He'll be expecting us to make a move. If we surprise him with nothing but a calm face, it will throw him off." Ngozi nodded. "We'll be ready. The media will be on standby. As soon as you get the upper hand, we'll broadcast the truth. We have everything we need to expose him, his connections, his dirty deals, all of it." Gloria smiled grimly. "It's now or never." The following day, Gloria arrived at the location Okoro had chosen for their meeting, a quiet, secluded warehouse on the outskirts of the city. The kind of place where shady deals happened in the dead of night. Her heartbeat quickened as she stepped out of the car, the cool evening air biting at her skin. This was it. There was no turning back. She walked into the warehouse, each step deliberate. Her heels echoed through the large, empty space. The faint scent of old wood and metal hung in the air. As she made her way deeper into the shadows, she saw him, a figure standing in the corner, watching her with a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. Okoro. He was just as she had imagined, tall, imposing, with an air of confidence that bordered on arrogance. He wore a perfectly tailored suit, the kind of suit that screamed wealth and power. But it wasn't the suit that unnerved her. It was the way he looked at her, like she was a challenge he was just waiting to conquer. "You came," he said, his voice smooth and dark. "I wasn't sure you would." Gloria stood tall, unshaken by his presence. "I don't back down, Okoro. You should know that by now." He chuckled softly, the sound echoing in the cold space. "You think you're in control, don't you? You think that by exposing me, you can win. But let me tell you something, Gloria. You're not playing in my league. This game is far bigger than you realize." Gloria's eyes narrowed. "You're wrong. This isn't a game to me. This is my life. And I'm going to make sure you never get the chance to hurt anyone again." Okoro's smile faltered for just a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. "You think you have the upper hand? I know everything about you, Gloria. Your company, your family, your past. You think I'm the one who's afraid? You're nothing more than a pawn in a game you don't even understand." Gloria stepped closer, her voice low but steady. "I'm not afraid of you, Okoro. And I know exactly who you are. You can't hide behind your money, your power, or your manipulations anymore. You're going to lose." The tension between them thickened, a silent battle of wills. Okoro studied her for a moment, his gaze hard and calculating. "Maybe you think you're in control. But remember this, Gloria, you can't fight the darkness. It will always find a way to swallow you." Gloria met his gaze, her voice unwavering. "I'm not afraid of the dark, Okoro. I've been in it before. And I've come out stronger." For a moment, there was silence. Okoro seemed to consider her words, his expression unreadable. "You may think you've won, but this is just the beginning," he said finally, his voice cold. "You'll regret this, Gloria. You have no idea what you're up against. I know exactly what I'm up against, Gloria replied, her heart racing but her composure firm. And I'm ready. With those final words, Gloria turned and walked away. She didn't look back, though she could feel Okoro's eyes on her as she left the warehouse. She had done what she came to do. She had faced him, not as a victim, but as a woman who was no longer afraid of the monster he had created. As Gloria drove back to the office, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the calm before the storm. Okoro wasn't the type of man to let go of his power so easily. But she had shown him that she wasn't going to stand by and let him destroy everything she had worked for. The battle was far from over, but Gloria had taken the first step. And for the first time in a long while, she felt a glimmer of hope. The next day, the storm hit. Gloria's phone rang incessantly, and the media flooded her inbox with questions. Okoro's people had tried to spin the story, tried to paint her as the villain, but Gloria had anticipated that move. She had prepared the truth, the damning evidence of Okoro's criminal dealings, his corrupt practices, and his dangerous connections. Within hours, Okoro's empire began to crumble. His allies started turning on him, one by one. The web of lies he had spun so carefully for years began to unravel. But Gloria knew better than to celebrate too soon. This was just the beginning. Okoro would fight back. He was dangerous, and he would stop at nothing to maintain his power. But for the first time, Gloria felt ready to face him head-on. The final battle had begun, and she was determined to win. The media frenzy had just begun, but Gloria wasn't sitting idly by, watching from the sidelines. She had made her move, and now it was time to solidify her victory. Okoro was cornered, but he wasn't out yet. And she knew from experience that the most dangerous opponent was the one who felt trapped. In the days following the media uproar, Gloria met with her legal team, the investigators, and her closest allies. The evidence was undeniable, but Okoro had money and connections, people who would rally to his side, trying to push back against her every move. The game wasn't over. Not by a long shot. We've got the media on our side, and we've got the truth, Gloria said, her eyes fixed on the legal documents in front of her. But he's going to fight dirty. We need to prepare for everything, every trick, every attack. Yugo, one of her trusted advisors, nodded. Okoro has a network of people in high places. If he's going to go down, he's not going to do it quietly. We need to brace ourselves for a war. Chika, always quick on his feet, added, we should also consider how we can capitalize on his weakness. His past, his ties to shady organizations, these are things we can use to destroy his credibility once and for all. Gloria's mind raced as she listened to their suggestions. The pieces of the puzzle were coming together, but there was something she wasn't seeing yet. Something she had to uncover before it was too late. I've been thinking, Gloria said after a moment of silence. Okoro's been running things for a long time. If we can find a way to expose his ties to his biggest enabler, someone who has the power to really bring him down, it'll change the game. He's not acting alone. Someone has been pulling strings for him. Ngozi leaned forward. Someone like who? Gloria shook her head. I don't know yet. But I'll find out. I'll find out everything. Over the next few days, Gloria threw herself into uncovering Okoro's network. It wasn't easy. Every lead she followed led to another dead end. But she was relentless. She knew that the key to bringing Okoro down was exposing the hidden forces behind his empire, those who had stood by him for so long. Then, one afternoon, a breakthrough came. A tip from a former associate of Okoro's surfaced, a name that Gloria had never heard before, Nzi Onwuka. The name didn't ring a bell, but the information about this man was enough to send a chill down her spine. Nzi Onwuka was a man with a reputation, someone who was rumored to have ties to several powerful and dangerous individuals. He wasn't just an enabler, he was a puppet master in his own right. A man who had long been behind the scenes, pulling the strings that allowed Okoro to thrive. Gloria's gut told her this was the lead she had been waiting for. If she could get to Nzi, She could not only expose Okoro's true power but also shatter the foundation on which his empire stood. But Nzi wasn't someone who could be found easily. He was elusive, moving like a shadow, always several steps ahead. But Gloria wasn't used to giving up. She'd been pushed to the edge before, and every time, she came back stronger. This time would be no different. Gloria met with her team that evening, discussing their next steps. "I've got a lead," she said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "Nzi Onwuka. He's the one who's been pulling Okoro's strings from the beginning. He's our target." Ngozi raised an eyebrow. "And how do we find him?" "This guy's a ghost." "We start with his associates," Gloria replied. "There's always someone who talks. We just need to find the right person." "I'll put the word out," Chika said, his eyes lighting up with the challenge. "We'll find someone who knows something. Trust me." Ozo Amina, who had been quietly observing, spoke up. "Be careful, Gloria. If Nzi is as dangerous as you say, this could turn violent. We might be pushing Okoro to the edge, and he'll stop at nothing to protect his empire." Gloria nodded, her face hardening. "I know. But we're not backing down now. This is our best chance to take Okoro down for good." It wasn't long before Chika came through with a lead. He had tracked down a former associate of Nzi's, a man named Ekenedela Chukwu, who was now living under a new identity. The man was skittish, paranoid, and desperate to avoid being caught by the people he once worked with. Gloria arranged a meeting with him in a secluded location, far from prying eyes. She needed answers, and she was willing to do whatever it took to get them. When Ekenedela Chukwu finally arrived, he looked like a man who had been on the run for years, disheveled, anxious, and constantly looking over his shoulder. "I don't know why you're dragging me into this," Ekenedela Chukwu said nervously, glancing around as if expecting someone to jump out of the shadows. "I don't have anything to do with Nzi anymore. I left that life behind." Gloria was calm, her voice steady but firm. "I know you left. But I also know that you know something about Nzi and his relationship with Okoro. That's what we need. Just tell me where to find him, and you can go back to hiding. I'm not here to hurt you, I'm here to expose the truth." For a long moment, Ekenedela Chukwu hesitated, the weight of his past clearly bearing down on him. Finally, he sighed, his shoulders slumping in defeat. "Nzi is not someone you want to mess with," he warned. "But if you really want to know where he is, I can point you in the right direction. Just be careful. Okoro isn't the only one who'll come after you. Nzi has connections, powerful ones. If you go after him, you won't just be fighting Okoro. You'll be fighting everyone." Gloria's eyes hardened. "I've been fighting for a long time. This isn't the first time I've faced danger." Ekenedela Chukwu nodded, looking resigned. "All right. I'll tell you what I know. But you'd better be ready." As the night fell, Gloria's resolve hardened. The pieces were finally falling into place. She was about to confront the final pieces of the puzzle, the ones who had allowed Okoro's empire to flourish. The shadows were no longer safe for them, and Gloria was coming for them all. She had come a long way from the girl who had been thrown into the streets. Now, she was a force to be reckoned with. And she wasn't going to let anyone, least of all Okoro and Nzi, destroy everything she had worked for. The final confrontation was coming. And this time, she would be the one in control. Hey family, drop a comment and let us know where you're tuning in from and what time it is on your clock right now. We're excited to hear from you.